In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to Know the Score. I'm your host, Don Delarente, and I'm joined by my co host, the Libra icon, Dwayne. What's going on, Dwayne?
Not much. Looks like we are now in the purgatory between football and the end of the NHL and NBA seasons. But we got the World Cup, so we're good.
There's the MLB, there's all MLB All Star game. There's some things in there.
See, being a Mets fan, my season's over, so I'm looking ahead.
Okay. Know the Score can be found on CSPN. You can find us on the web at www.cspn.us. You can also find Know the Score on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio. You can also find the show account on Twitter at KTS Pod. You can follow Dwayne on Twitter at the Libra Icon, and you can follow me on Twitter at Don Delarente. So we'll get into some NFL news first, as we had Julian Edelman reportedly will miss the first 4 games of the season after testing positive for PEDs. Edelman is currently appealing the suspension. This is a big breaking story because, of course, he's coming off the ACL surgery, trying to get back to the Patriots to help them, win another championship. And he's one of the guys who, trains with Tom Brady's trainer, like personally, and doesn't work out with the team trainers. So, that story came out last year. There was a big kind of rift between the guys who work out with the team versus the guys who work out with Brady's trainer. So, your thoughts, Dwayne, on just this news coming down and what the future holds for Edelman? It's really hard to get these PED suspensions overturned, but
Very, yeah, it's very difficult, but what's gonna happen for the Patriots is who's gonna just be in the who's going to plug in that role for Edelman. It's going to be Brandon Cooks. Is going to be somebody else. Oh yeah, or if Brandon Cooks is even there anymore. But the whole thing is that with these suspensions for the performance enhancing drugs, it's not an easy thing, like you alluded to, and they're just going to have to deal with this suspension. I don't know if he was taking them to try to get back on the field or during the rehab or if it was just something that was on the banned list. But, the game is the game, and this is what happens when, you violate the rules. So I don't see anything changing from it. Um, but they got they did draft Braxton Berrios from Miami. And he looks like the Edelman slash Wes Welker prototype. They still have Chris Hogan. They have Philip Dorsett. So Jordan Matthews is still there. And they even signed Cordero Patterson. And of course you got Gronk and so Tom Brady's gonna be okay. I mean Edelman's a huge part of his success in the last several years with the Patriots, but you gotta do the time here and just maybe you'll get it reduced, but I don't see that happening. I see the full 4 games going down for him.
yeah, the only player in recent history who's kind of had their suspension completely overturned was Richard Sherman when he got found tested positive, but in his appeal, he actually got his whole suspension overturned. So he's the only person in like recent history who's actually won their appeal. So doesn't really look good for Edelman in this case, but at least he has the right to do it, and we'll see what comes out of it going forward. In other NFL news, Terrell Owens says that he will not attend the NFL Hall of Fame ceremony. He says that he would rather attend it with friends and family who really appreciated his career. So I guess he's going to have like a barbecue or something at his house or on a lake somewhere to celebrate his career. And in the first person in the history of the NFL Hall of Fame that was alive who will not make an acceptance speech.
I don't blame Terrell Owens, to be honest. I mean, he's been perceived as this villain for many years, and he's never had any any performance enhancing issues. Never had any other drug kind of issues. Never had any domestic violence issues. Everybody just villainized him for you know his on-field antics, but that's part of the game. I mean, and so for the frosty relationship with the media, who literally controls the Hall of Fame inductions, and for the numbers that he put up for many years and wasn't even on the first ballot, and it took him several tries to get in. I don't blame Tio for feeling the way he feels. I don't
See,
feel
that's the only hole in the argument I have because Art Monk was the leader in receptions and consecutive games with the reception when he retired, and it still took him like 15 years to get in the Hall of Fame. So I don't want to hear that.
okay. I respect that, but it's still you know for the he didn't have a contentious relationship with the media, and Tio played on some pretty good teams. I'm not saying that Art Monk did not. I mean, Art Monk did win, so he did win a few Super Bowls. So, but I don't. I still stand by the fact that he had the numbers, and he still should have been. He should have been in, and Art Monk should have been in at the point he should have been in. So I'll give you that, but I want to
Now,
stand by the fact that you know I think the media had a bias against Terrell Owens, and that was one of the reasons why he was. It's taking him this long, and that's why he's spurned the hall.
I'll give you I'll grant you total. If if he wants to come out and say, hey, me and the media weren't the best of friends, and the media, is basically, this Hall of Fame is run by the media, like you said, and that was his reason, then I'll rock with you 100%. But just because you had to wait 2 years, two turns on the ballot, and that's your main concern, man, get out of here. We got people who've been waiting 25 years to get in this thing, and they don't hold that time against it. It's like, hey, it's better that I'm in than never. But I mean, he deserves to be there. He's going to be in there. So I don't know what they do. I guess that gives Brian Urlacher, Randy Moss, and Ray Lewis 10 more minutes each on their speeches, I guess.
I mean, Ray Lewis going to talk for 3 days anyway, so I'm sure he'll be just fine with that. But 15,000 yards, almost 16,000 yards, 153 touchdowns. I mean, he had some awesome numbers, and I mean, this was something that I felt like he the way the legendary Super Bowl game. I mean, playing off a very, very tender ankle, and there was a lot of great moments. There were a lot of fun moments, and I respect the decision. Maybe it could have been handled differently. I mean, but Terrell Owens has always been and will always be one of those enigmatic players. So,
Right.
And that's how he feels is how he feels, and he's going to stand by it whether you or I care or not.
I think this may be more of a kind of I don't know what the media kind of feels about the wide receiver position, because it seems like over the few years at the wide receiver position, they've had to kind of wait their turn. Like, Chris Carter didn't get it in his first chance that he was on the ballot. He had to wait a couple of times. Randy Moss got his on the first time, but I think it's because the way the class was structured this year, it kind of, there was nobody, that could kind of bump him out. But I think that the wide receiver position in general, I think the media views that a little bit differently than they view like a running back. It seems like running backs who come up like, LaDainian Tomlinson, first time on it, bam, he's right in. So maybe it's the position and maybe not necessarily well in Tigio's case, of course, the media, but maybe the position of wide receiver in the Hall of Fame voters' eyes is one of these ones that's like, you can maybe wait a turn or two if there's a defensive lineman or a quarterback or a running back who maybe, in the same class as you are eligible for the Hall of Fame at the same time. So we'll kind of continue to watch that for like next year's class that comes up.
Yeah.
This is Know the Score. I'm your host, Don Delarente. I'm here with my co-host, the Libra Icon. You can find this each and every week right here on CSPN.us. So we're going to shift over to the NHL, and it finally happened. The Great Eight, Alexander Ovechkin, and the Washington Capitals. They win 4 straight games to win their first ever Stanley Cup, defeating the Las Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games. A couple of blowouts in the middle there, and an all-time classic closeout game, Game 5 in the Stanley Cup. Man, that was one of the most exciting, fast-skating, hard-hitting Stanley Cup games I've watched in a long, long time. And the Capitals were down a goal going into the third period. Devontae Pelly-Smith tied it up with just going to be a Washington Capitals iconic goal, kind of falling down on a breakaway. And then they got the game winner, and the Capitals finally did it, man.
They did. Congratulations to, the DC area fans. And, we clowned DC sports for many, many years. And, just the vindication of a team winning. I mean, the last title was the Redskins Super Bowl in Washington in '92, I believe. So
26 years.
26 years. So, and so with that being said, it took 14 years for Alex Ovechkin, one of the most likable faces in the NHL. He's a lot more likable than Sidney Crosby, and it was something special because you can kind of see that the last 3 Stanley Cup winners have come from the Crosby Ovechkin Penguins Capitals rivalry, and so it was something special. And you kind of had a feeling once they got over that Pittsburgh roadblock, something special was going to happen. It was kind of reminiscent of Michael Jordan on the basketball court and the Chicago Bulls getting past that roadblock. That was the Detroit Pistons, and so once they got past that roadblock, that in Pittsburgh, it was something special. I mean, the 2 shutouts and the comebacks against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then, we alluded to the home ice problems they had all postseason long, and they go out and blow the Vegas Golden Knights at home, looking really, really juiced. I think once this team got to the Stanley Cup final, they really turned it on. And I think Vegas just was not ready for it. And, as much flack as I have given Vegas and, my bitterness over the Shark series, you got to give this team a lot of credit as well. I mean, this very first season, they rallied around the tragic events that happened in Las Vegas with the mass shooting there, putting up all the victims' names on the banner, then the elaborate presentations, and this team put up 109 points, won the Western Conference title, took the first game by storm, and this team isn't going anywhere. I think this team's going to be around for a long time. Fortunately, the same expansion rules will apply for the 32nd team, whether it's Seattle or Portland or Quebec City, whoever it may be. I want to go back to the Capitals, though. First time in franchise history, 44 years. This team has been in existence, and they got it done. And just seeing all the fans, all the fans on my timeline who are Capitals fans who have been waiting for this moment, who've endured all the Capital disappointments that they've been through. It's a vindication for them. So, congratulations to them. And also, the last thing I want to say about it is that Devontae Smith-Pelly, iconic. You're right, that was an iconic goal. That's definitely going to be in the lore of the Capitals forever. And Lars Eller, he scored the game-winning goal in the Capitals' first win of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he scored the game-winning goal in the last game of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, bookending, the postseason with game-winning goals is pretty awesome. And yeah, I can't wait for next season, and it's going to be fun. I mean, just seeing non-hockey fans be engaged in the game was really special. Kind of warmed my heart too.
Alex Ovechkin, he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player of the Stanley Cup Finals. Just putting a bow on one of the best playoff runs that he's had in his remarkable career. He's had so many, great runs and individual seasons and things like that. But, just good for him to finally, get all that hardware and be one of the main reasons why they were successful this year, because he's taken such a beating. A couple of years ago, there was talks about maybe trading him and just, blowing it up and starting it over. And but they stuck with Ovechkin and he stuck with them, and it finally paid off in the Stanley Cup. So congrats to the Capitals, man.
Absolutely. And I was one of those saying, maybe it is time for Alexander Ovechkin to finally go to a different team. Maybe it is time he goes do that pursuit for a Stanley Cup, because it just every year they never got past the second round, and even the years they won the President's Trophy, which a trophy I would not want to win anyway. Um, 3 President's Trophies and 3 second round exits each year, and now you got the Conn Smythe. I would have probably given it to Braden Holtby because it is. I mean, Ovechkin had a great Stanley Cup final. He had a great playoff run, but they would not be where they are if it wasn't for Braden Holtby. Barry Trotz made the switch, goaltender in the Columbus series, and Holtby never looked back. He had those 2 shutouts back to back in Game 6 and 7 when the Capitals' season was on the line twice, and he had the save of the Stanley Cup final when he made that save to prevent Vegas from tying the game, and that really was a turning point in the series for me.
Right. So we're going to shift over to the NBA. And on our last episode, they had just concluded Game 1. JR not knowing the score, the epic meltdown. Did you see the video of what happened when they went to the bench after that?
I did.
And when LeBron found out that they did have a timeout, but they for some reason didn't call it from the bench, and then it was almost like Thanos snapped his fingers on him, and you could just see him dissipate away.
Right. Yeah, that was a very disappointing. That's on Ty Lue. I mean, you got to know the situation. I don't care if you got to run on to the court and get the referee's attention. I mean, I know Oracle's loud, so you might not be able to hear what's going on. I would have, if I know I have a timeout and I'm in that situation, I'm doing anything I can to get this timeout so I could draw up a play and try to get the win. And then, of course, that meltdown, of course, led to the 17-7 run in overtime, and then LeBron punching the board in the locker room after the game.
Supposedly, is what they said. Steph Curry erupted for a finals record 9 made 3-pointers as the Warriors won Game 2, 122-103. This was a very interesting game where LeBron was being not aggressive, passive isn't the word. He was trying to get everybody else involved, and it looked like he was kind of saving his energy to try to keep the game somewhat close enough where maybe he could get like one final push in the fourth quarter and take it over, and maybe they could, win by a handful of points. But Steph Curry beat him to the punch, and I think he was like either 4 for 5 or 5 for 5 from threes in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think it was the latter.
Yeah, so that was the story of game two. Basically, Steph with a record, like I said, 9 made 3-pointers, eclipsing the 8 that he shared with Ray Allen. So in game three, Kevin Durant scores a finals career high for himself, 43 points, as he led the Warriors to the game three victory, 110-102. This was the game that the Cavs had their best chance to win. They had 4 guys in double figures. Rodney Hood, J.R. Smith actually showed up in this game. Kevin Love was fantastic. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were off the mark completely. But the Warriors somehow got 6 players in double figures. And they shot a few more free throws. They didn't turn the ball over a lot. And surprisingly, they stayed even with Cleveland at the 3-point line as both teams made 9. And Kevin Durant was the deciding factor as he went for 43 and LeBron went for 33.
Yeah, that was definitely a great game. It was the Cavs' best chance. They were in control most of that game, but when Durant hit those 2 cold-blooded threes and the dust there, I just knew after that was like the Slim Reaper taking all the souls right there.
And the Warriors, they claimed their 3rd championship in 4 years as they defeated the Cavs 108-85 in Game 4 to complete the sweep. Steph Curry scored 37 points in the closeout game. Kevin Durant had his first ever playoff triple-double, and he won his 2nd Finals MVP award. So the closeout game, the Warriors started fast, and then the Cavs kind of closed up and got it tied, and even took the lead there in the second quarter. They played really good in the second quarter for about halfway through the second quarter, and then all of a sudden the Warriors just turned it on and got the lead going into halftime, and then they did their third quarter thing, and with about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Tyronn Lue threw in the towel. He took LeBron James out of the game. LeBron, dapped up everybody before he left the court. And, basically the celebration was on from there. So congratulations to the Warriors for winning their 3rd title in 4 years in a sweep. And this pretty much ends the feud with the Cavs, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot to decide, of course. I do see it being the end of an era in Cleveland. Congratulations to the Warriors for their 3rd title in 4 years. And, it's the Warriors world, and we're just living in it at this point. This team they're loaded from the very top. Their ownership group is loaded. They have the money to pay everybody and pay the luxury tax and pay the repeater tax. So they want to keep going, they will keep going. And that's the biggest difference between the Warriors and everybody else. And it starts at the top, with the ownership, Lacob and Goober, and then it goes down to GM Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, and the players. And then there was
And it appears to me, just from the outside looking in, that they have a bunch of guys that value winning over getting paid. So when it comes again for the contract things, they may take the less money just to keep the thing together. Just because, hey, why go somewhere else, get paid but not win, or end up in a system where I don't really fit? Because if you look at Draymond Green, he can't go play everywhere.
right.
He doesn't. You have to have a very special system for Draymond Green to be valuable for your team. So it doesn't really make sense for him to go chase money elsewhere.
He has a good thing there. But
Right.
I did see though. I did see Bleacher Report earlier this morning that David West was alluding to some drama within the team, and even Steve Kerr said this was the most challenging of the 4 years he's been there as the head coach. I mean, we don't know what the drama is. I mean, only the players and the coaches know in that organization. But as I definitely want to see if more is revealed about that in the later on in the summer. And as great, and every team has. I mean, as great as winning can be, people you do this for a long time, and the winning is good, but there's also internal strife that sometimes can't be repaired. I mean, you put it aside for the sake of the game, for the sake of the dynasty, but as with most dynasties, there's always going to be somebody that's going to do or want to do their own thing. Look at Kyrie Irving. I mean, he won the title for Cleveland literally, and the next year he wanted out.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. I really, they do on the surface, looks like they're going to keep it going. They take less money to be a winner. Kevin Durant has already said he's staying, and so why keep why if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there might be some things that could be irreconcilable. That's the word I'm looking for.
I think that you have to give a big tip of the cap to Steve Kerr for his adjustment after game one, where Cleveland really dominated that game on the offensive boards. And he made an adjustment to start JaVale McGee from game two going forward. And JaVale McGee was a big, big, big part of this sweep. I mean, I think he averaged 10 points a game. He was big on defense, block shots, at least keeping LeBron having to, have a threat that somebody in the lane could block his shots, couldn't just get free runs down into the paint. And also Jordan Bell as well. In the last two games, he really showed up and, helped play LeBron, give Iguodala some rest on LeBron. And he also, chipped in with some double figure scoring games as well. So, some I know we get caught up with the starting five and everything, but they had some help off the bench as well.
Right, they did, and also shout out to Dick Young. He's got more rings than Charles Barkley does. That's pretty awesome. So
I went from getting snitched on to putting a ring on.
There it is,
Nick Young. As you alluded to earlier, report surfaced after the game that LeBron played the last three games with a serious hand injury after punching a blackboard due to the game one loss. I guess that's a lot better than having a serious hand injury because he punched J.R. Smith in the face. So, but apparently, according to LeBron, it's damn near a broken hand. That was his quote at the post-game press conference, where he had it wrapped up and it was in a soft cast and everything. So apparently they were playing these tricks where whenever LeBron was in public or anything like that, practices or shoot-arounds, there was nothing on his hand. And then, once he was in private, they were wrapping it up, icing it, and he's doing all types of physical therapy to, get the swelling out of it and try to strengthen it. So that may lead to the reasons why he seemed a little bit less aggressive in the last three games, where he wasn't, seemed to be driving and shooting and trying to take the game over as much as we, probably thought he would.
Right.
Yeah. And it probably didn't help that I think that was the same hand that he put down when he got fouled at one time, and he was like holding his hand in the second half there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because no matter what he says or what he does at this point with that hand, people are going to just scrutinize it regardless. And it's like, so now he had a broken hand. Da, 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 da.
Injuries have kind of been like a big part of this rivalry. You got all the Cleveland fans that go, well, if Kevin Love wouldn't have got hurt against Boston and Kyrie wouldn't have got hurt in that first game of the finals, they wouldn't even won that first championship. And then you got the Golden State fans that are like, well, if Steph wasn't playing on a bad knee and basically got tired and his knee was, was like 75%, you guys wouldn't have won the one that y'all won. So, it's a part of it.
Exactly. And, I think this shows that after 4 years, the Warriors are the superior team, 3-1. At least, the only thing that would have been great about the Cavaliers winning at this point would have been evening up at 2-2. Then, you had to kind of want to see a rubber match at this point. But with they already did what they needed to do at this point.
Right. So with the end of the NBA playoffs and NBA finals, that puts us right into the Summer of LeBron free agent edition. So the big questions, are starting to swirl. Where will he land?
Right.
So, of course, the first choice is Houston, where they have his, banana boat buddy Chris Paul there. They have James Harden already in place. And then, they add LeBron. That would be their quote-unquote big three. And then I guess they would try to keep P.J. Tucker to be kind of their Draymond Green stretch four. And then Capella, I guess, would be their starting center. But as all teams experience, when you get LeBron in free agency, you have to gut your bench. So that means that Eric Gordon probably won't be there anymore. Ryan Anderson definitely won't be there anymore. Gerald Green probably would be a casualty of this. So, it's a big addition, but it comes with a lot of subtraction too.
Yeah. And that's going to be the biggest thing for LeBron because, at this point in his career, it's all about maximizing his earnings. So if he does not get the and they also got to figure out, the Rockets also got to figure out Chris Paul negotiations too. So because you already got a $200 million contract to James Harden, you got to re-sign Chris Paul, which they'll likely do. Then you got to figure out who is essentially good enough to
like keep it around for the first, yeah.
Exactly. And if you got three guys who are really good at their positions, probably the top tier in their positions, you gotta just find ways to complement that at this point. And I think Daryl Morey, he's very smart. He's a smart guy. I think he can and will get the job done. And at this point, we just have to see how they do in the draft. And then a week after that, be on pins and needles and watch what happens as LeBron's decision part 3 comes into play.
The thing that's appealing, I think, for LeBron at this point going to Houston would be that he knows that he will be going to set the team up first point guard. You wouldn't have to worry about running the team, getting them into their sets, getting everybody involved. All he would have to do is just go finish the basketball, put it in the hoop. He wouldn't have to worry about a whole lot of things. I think at this stage in his career, I think that he would value that a lot. And I think he thought that's what Kyrie was going to be for him. But then he figured, oh, this dude is like a smaller version of me without the passing. So he had to, rechange his game up to kind of make that work for the rest of the team to be involved when Kyrie was there. So I think he's kind of getting to the point now where he wants and kind of needs to play with a traditional point guard. Next on the list would be Philly. They had some developments in their front office this week as Brian Colangelo resigned as the 76ers GM after that Twitter scandal. He tried to say that it was his wife out here, being reckless in the name of her expression, but it cost him his job. But David Griffin, the former Cavs GM, is reportedly to be the front runner for the position. So that would instantly give Philly another inroad into the LeBron sweepstakes because, as we know, David Griffin and LeBron are very tight. Um, Now, for Philly to make this happen, they would probably have to give up a lot less proven talent since they have so many young players on their team. But that might mean that Fultz would be out of there if that happened. But maybe not because he's still on that rookie deal. He's not getting paid a lot. But a guy like maybe JJ Redick, they need to keep him around because you got to have a shooter if you're going to get LeBron on your team. So maybe a guy like Covington would be kind of the odd man out going forward there.
Right.
So what do you think about the Philly? LeBron coming to Philly? What do you think how that would stack up?
My thing is, he would be able to play off the ball. Ben Simmons would be able to be the guy bringing it up the court. Maybe LeBron could show Ben Simmons how to shoot a 3-pointer. I could see Philly being very, very close, being in the sweepstakes. I mean, a young team, a young core on the squad, and then. But the thing is now for me with Philadelphia is if they end up getting LeBron, they will. Are they going to delay the process? Are they going to start trusting the process right there? It's going to take some time to adjust because you're not playing with any ordinary teammate. You're playing with LeBron James, and LeBron has been a very great teammate, but the aura that he carries is everything to a lot of people. So I think Philly is a good destination. I think Philly would be a team that's pretty that would be even more stacked, and we would just have to wait and see what happens with that.
Next on my list, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers have been wheeling and dealing the past couple of years to have 2 max contract slots available for this summer. So they put themselves in a position to theoretically go out here and sign Paul George and LeBron to go with Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball. The very interesting person for the Lakers would be Julius Randle. He's kind of played himself into kind of being like Draymond Green light, where he's become, kind of a playmaker, rebounder, defend kind of multiple position guys. And he really made a huge step in the second half of this season. So how do you feel the chances of the Lakers could maybe swoop in and add LeBron and Paul George?
It's a high possibility. I don't want it to happen personally, but it's a high possibility. But I have also seen Laker fans get optimistic about so many things, and it just hasn't panned out in their favor. Take, for instance, Russell Westbrook. I mean, a lot of people thought, hey, Russell's from LA. I want to go and try to pick him up.
Yeah.
And then, sorry.
But no, go ahead, finish.
Okay, and then Paul George, though, I think it's a different story. I think he's been wanting to go to LA for over a year now, and so I don't see him staying in Oklahoma City. I don't know why Laker fans would probably. I mean, I do know why, obviously, but after that horrible performance against Utah, that just kind of showed the ugly side of what you may be getting, and that was probably a mistake on that part. But I think they got the chance to do it. Whether it actually gets done, I don't know. Because I think one thing that LeBron's also looking at is he's got kids. I mean, Bronny is going to be a teenager. Bryce is getting older. He's got a little girl now. It was pretty easy the first two go arounds. And remember when he came back to Cleveland, the happiest person on the planet when he announced that was his wife. So, because his wife loves where they're from, she's Akron through and through, and so it's one of those things. It's a high possibility the Lakers could get him, but you have to kind of really convince the family factor. You got to try to pull that away from LeBron. If you effectively pull that away from him, and you have a good ownership and a good chance to win a title, according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN, or Fanside, I should say, that is what he's looking for primarily. The ability to win a title and the ownership.
Now we'll talk about the other team that shares the Staples Center. They put themselves in a position by trading away Blake Griffin to the Pistons and having Chris Paul shipped over to the Rockets, where the Clippers are in the same position as the Lakers. They have enough space to get 2 max contracts. Do you think the Clippers have a chance?
I think the Clippers do have a chance. I think they have the cap space to do it. Even though DeAndre Jordan wants out reportedly of the Clippers organization, even though he had his chance with the Mavericks, but he allowed his teammates to hold him hostage to re-sign. But another story, another day. It is a very interesting concept. I mean, and one thing that is appealing about it is the water. So, like, LA is a good spot, whether it's the Lakers or whether it's the Clippers. I think if you go to LA, I would rather see him in a Clipper uniform than a Laker uniform. I don't think it will happen. I think it's a longer shot for the Clippers to get him. I think the Lakers have the better chance to sign, but we shall see.
And then we're going to wrap this conversation up, and we're going to talk about 2 wild cards. We're going to talk about the Boston Celtics. Now, we know that Danny Ainge is not above wheeling and dealing, reshaping his team, even if they've had a successful playoff run. He did it after last year's playoffs, getting rid of Isaiah Thomas. It's rumored that, with all the young players that they have, nobody is really on a large contract, and with the multiple first-round draft picks they still own, that they could do some wheeling and dealing, and you could have Boston and LeBron become a marriage.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very, very interesting off season for the Celtics, especially considering the successes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier. I think also one of the things about this team is that they have been ravaged by injuries as well. So my take on this is, do you really have the resources, and can you put good talent around them? And they have that in Boston. They have, I don't know if Kyrie Irving, I mean, I heard the report of him wanting to go to New York, possibly. I mean, he is from West Orange. And I know he probably wouldn't want to be reunited with LeBron, but that definitely would not be his call, whether he likes it or not. That's Danny Ainge's call. And Danny Ainge will do what it takes, whether it's a trade, whether it's a free agency move. He'll do what it takes, and he's got picks on picks on picks to dish out if teams want to take it.
Right. He's mastered the Bill Belichick style of just having a whole bunch of draft picks, and then when it comes to the offseason, you just be standing there like, hey, I got these 3 draft picks out here if y'all want them. Who y'all want to give up for some draft picks? you know.
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly. And so they have the draft picks. They have, and especially if it's a team that's on a rebuild and is desiring that draft pick, then they know what to do, and it's pretty interesting to see as well.
right, and then the last place that I'm going to throw out there, the New Orleans Pelicans. It's been reported that if they could get rid of Boogie, with Anthony Davis being under that new contract, that they actually would have the space to then sign LeBron and add him to the brow and try to do something down there. But that might be like the longest of all the shots that I've mentioned so far of the teams. But how does that intrigue your thoughts? LeBron playing with Anthony Davis?
Uh, it doesn't, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because the as great of a postseason run the Pels had is just not sufficient enough to go out and do a move like this. So I think if you sign LeBron to a near max deal or a max deal, then who's going to be the supporting cast? Like you're going to have to ship off a lot of guys who are key contributors to the team without trying to give up on a playoff spot. So I think Cousins walks. I think they got to find a way to keep Rondo, and even then, New Orleans is too small of a market. I don't see this team, spending the cash and spending the money to go into the luxury tax or go into that higher tax threshold for a couple years. I don't see that happening.
All right. So we will definitely keep you guys abreast of this situation. I'm sure it will be dominating the sports world and the sports talk for the next 3 weeks. I think it's going to be it's 2 more. It's like 1 more week to the draft. And then that free agency, it's usually July 1st, but since it's on a Sunday, I think it's going to be that Monday, July 2nd. That is like the new business year of the NBA. And then that's when all the free agency stuff can start. So a couple more weeks away from that, and then it'll be the wild wild west again as far as players moving and draft picks and things like that. The last few NBA off seasons have been tremendous as far as movement and signings and contract numbers. So I expect it to keep up this season, this off season.
Agreed, and we'll definitely discuss all the moves and be on track of it online as well. Definitely.
Before we give our final thoughts and shout outs, I just want to remind you that you can support Know the Score and the CSPN by supporting our sponsors. Support and go shop at Amazon.com. You got 1 week to get your dad something cool for Father's Day. Help the podcast out. Go to CSPN.us, click on the menu tab, scroll down to where it says keep our podcast free. Click on that very first link. That's Amazon. Go into Amazon, buy your dad multiple things for Father's Day. Show them that you love them, and also show love to your favorite podcast here on the CSPN. So CSPN.us and Amazon.com. Do it today. So Dwayne, at this point, man, turn it over to you for your final thoughts and if anything you want to touch on that we didn't in the body of the show.
Shout out to our co-host Jesse and Tobias, and shout out to the CSPN. Much love to all of our podcast family, Potter family indeed. My final thought would be in the middle of my Mets depression, and I'm learning that it's okay. We do not have a huge void, like I alluded to earlier. We got the World Cup starting next Wednesday. So, what's today? Today's Saturday. Next Thursday. next Thursday on Fox, the World Cup begins in Russia, and Brazil's looking to win it all yet again. I cannot wait to see the upsets, the stars who are there, and it'll be interesting to see who has next and who will be. Right. So that's my final thought. Get ready for the World Cup. I also want to thank everybody for, giving the glorious sports of hockey a chance. I was able to explain a couple things to a few followers, and that's really cool. So.
All right. I'd like to give a shout out to Dwayne, of course, for joining me each and every week. Give a shout out to Nabias and Jesse, our other two co-hosts. Like Dwayne said, give a shout out to everybody here on the CSPN, all the podcasters who give up their time to produce the content each and every week. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you guys. I don't really have a final thought as far as something we didn't touch on. I'll just say, congratulations to all the champions that we crowned this week. Congrats to the district for finally breaking the curse, and maybe this will finally, break the clouds, and the Nationals can, have a great postseason, and the football team can be better than they've been. And just give a shout out to the Golden State Warriors, having all the expectations that they do have on them, and then living up to them, and in some cases exceeding them. Give a tip of the cap to them and their whole organization and coaching staff for what they've done the last 3 out of 4 years. It's been truly remarkable. They built a super team, and they've been super with their team. So congratulations to the champions, and as amigos say, spray the champagne, y'all. So on that note, for the Libra Icon, I'm Don De Laurenti, and now you know the score.
And let's not get too ahead on the Nationals. We still have the 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and a Nationals first round exit.
That's the Libra Icon for all you National fans. And we will definitely talk to you guys next week. Thank you guys for listening.